I suppose we should start. We'll go backwards. We'll start with the Chiefs-Bengals. Chiefs 23, Bengals 20, and what was an incredible game. It was a back and forth. Mahomes, another gutsy performance to gut it out. The Bengals D, I thought, actually played a fairly good game. They really hung tough. They're an incredible tackling team. They did a really good job for the most part of not letting them get a lot of yards after catch, and once bringing guys down right after contact. I can only think of a couple of spots. The Pacheco run, uh, but and then keeping Kelsey in check, where he still, I think, ended up getting like 8 or 9 catches, but you didn't see the yards after catch that he's normally used to getting. It was catch the ball on a hitch, and he'd be tackled. Uh, and then the Kansas City pass rush was incredible. They had 4 sacks in the first quarter. They ended with 5. Chris Jones looked like he was Aaron Donald. Probably, I don't think this is putting it lightly. I think this is by far the best game of his career. He finally got a sack in the playoffs. And back to Mahomes, other than the time he went full Zach Wilson, he played pretty much the entire second half without his 3 top receivers. Juju, Tony, and Hardman were all out. He was MVS stepped up big. I can't even think of the guy, but he's got like 24 career tackles and 4 catches before the game. And it felt like as the game got closer with 2 minutes to go, it seemed like it was when Cincinnati got the ball back. It felt like Burrow was just going to go on a drive. After they converted a 3rd and 16, they didn't do anything. They punt, and it was one of the worst punts in the history of the playoffs, where it was a low screaming line drive. He didn't kick it out of bounds. If he kicks it out of bounds, I think Kansas City goes and plays for overtime because they were really struggling to move the ball. It was a great game plan by the D coordinator for the Bengals. And then a 3rd and 4 from Mahomes, a scramble that got a first down, and then Osai gave him another 15 yards on a horrible penalty. Feel bad for the guy because he played an incredible game, but the only thing they're going to remember is that penalty. And Butker kicks the field goal. Chiefs, the kingdom is back in the Super Bowl down in Arizona.
The biggest takeaway for me in that game was Washburn, the CBS sideline guy for the Bengals, was saying pregame we want to get him out of the pocket, we want to make him run or whatever. But that seemed like the time he was most dangerous. Mahomes, that is that every big play they had was him just creating something, even though he had one ankle. He really didn't do a ton in the pocket outside of those couple deep balls to Scantling.
Yeah, well, and the other part too is that he the Bengals, they were close all game of getting to him, and they just weren't quite able to get him, where he got rid of it right before he got rid of it right before they were getting to him. And incompletions weren't bad plays as long as they just avoided the turnover, and they won the turnover margin. And the Bengals, it showed their lack of an offensive line. That you could definitely tell they were missing 2 starters,
3 starters,
or 3, yeah, 3, and it's tough, but you can't really use that injury to them. It's because Mahomes was out there playing with one leg, Kelsey had back spasms, and it's playoff football. You're playing in January. Nobody's 100% healthy. You got to find ways. The great ones find ways to overcome it, and I think both Burrow and Mahomes are great ones. But in the end, Mahomes just was a little greater.
I think the big thing for me, guys, is like I've said multiple times this year. After the first Las Vegas game, the Tennessee game, the San Francisco game, the game in Los Angeles on Sunday night, how resilient this Chiefs team has been this year. There towards the end of the first half, Brian Cook tries to make a play, get the ball in the air, Jalen Watson interception. He gets there early. All right, that's a bad play by a rookie. He comes in on that 4th and 5. Zach Taylor pulls his cock out, puts it on the table, and says, hey, we're going for the deep shot. The Chiefs have the right coverage on there, but they know he's a rookie. Let's get him on a double move on in breaking route. Cook gets beat. Jamar goes down. Samaje Perine touchdown. a few plays later. And then, Josh.
Yeah, well, so that play though, too, because I think the Chiefs they were basically bracketing Chase all game, and it got to a point where, if he goes one way, one guy has him. If he goes the other way, another guy has him, and then nobody has him when he runs just straight. And I think that was just a call by Taylor where he just said that.
Well, and I think to your point, Dylan, I think the Bengals knew they were bracketing him all game. And when you have three rookies in your secondary who are playing significant amount of time after L'Jarius Sneed went out, you can get him on this little wily veteran room because it's 4th and 5. The Bengals probably think the Chiefs are bringing some pressure. If we can block for an extra second, we'll get him on a quick little double move here where Jamar gets deeper than the deepest guy, and then he goes up and he makes a play. But then what was so impressive for Brian Cook is he kept in there playing, he kept fighting. And then on that interception when they tried to do the same concept to T. Higgins, he didn't fall for the bait. He was able to tip it, and then Joshua Williams was able to pick it off. And, the Chiefs didn't score on that drive, but they're able to move the ball a little bit and flip the field. So to your point, Dylan, when the Bengals had to go on a game-winning drive, they had to go, 86-plus yards. And they got that 3rd and 16, but then the Chiefs held them these next 3 plays, and they got the punt back. And then also, talk about resiliency. You feel good for Sky Moore on that punt. Sure, it was a bad punt by Cincinnati. Yep. He's muffed 3 or 4 punts this year. He muffed a punt against the Colts that set up an early touchdown in a game the Chiefs would end up losing by 3. Then he also muffed one, I believe, against the Chargers in the Rams. They took him off the field. He wasn't returning punts. But when Tony gets hurt, he falls and, twists an ankle. Hardman goes out with that pelvic injury again. Juju's never returned a punch. L'Jarius Sneed leaves the game in the first quarter with a concussion. Justin Watson doesn't play. Well, there's your 4 punt returners right there. So Sky Moore has no choice but to go in. And he has an awesome return that gives the Chiefs a chance. So just the resiliency that this team had to just never quit and keep fighting was just fantastic to see, on Sunday. And like I said last week before the game, the Bengals, their backups, they can run block. But they're backups for a reason because they can't protect the quarterback in the passing league. And the Chiefs, they did a great job. I ran the numbers today. Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine only averaged 3.1 yards a carry in this game. Joe Burrow was the Bengals' leading rusher. And then you get those guys backed up. You get the Arrowhead crowd noise going where, Burrow is screaming in the huddle to yell the play. These tackles got to look inside. And, Chris Jones and Frank Clark, they get that extra second on that get off. And they're going to get the quarterback and it changed the game. So just the resiliency from this team. You're down to your 5th, 6th wide receiver. And then how big was MVS? People are dogging him all year. $15 million a year wide receiver. He hasn't done much. Well, he's got a touchdown in these last 2 games. San Francisco in the regular season, he had a big 3rd and 20 completion that helped swing that game over. When they needed him, he stepped up. And like I said, Green Bay probably wishes they had him this year. So just a gutsy, resilient team. And, hope they get 2 weeks to get healthy to try to, win the big one. But, and then I said this, when we were kids, we had the Colts Patriots. Well, now that we're adults, I think we got Bengals Chiefs. This is the thing for the next 10 years here in the AFC.
Yeah. Well, and we said it last week, Grant, that it's no longer Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. It is Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen.
And then, Trevor Lawrence is hanging around there too.
Yep.
And then also to add the injury, Willie Gay goes out with a knee injury. You're down to Chanel and then number 47. I'm drawing a blank on that young man's name, but you're down your second best linebacker. L'Jarius goes out, and they stepped up. Just a resilient, gutsy win by the Chiefs yesterday.
Yeah, and it was, I think they definitely enjoyed it seeing Travis Kelce call the mayor of Cincinnati a jabroni. They definitely heard the noise that was coming out of Cincinnati all week. Burrowhead Stadium. It's not Arrowhead. You name it. Mahomes is hurt. They can't win. But yet again they find a way, and just a resilient, gritty bunch. And now Andy Reid gets to face his old team in the
Well, and then
playoffs.
to kind of
The
to
Super
piggy,
Bowl, not
to
playoffs,
piggyback
Super
on
Bowl
what you
now.
said, when Ethan and I were talking on Saturday, I was genuinely nervous for this game, thinking there's no way the Chiefs can win. They're down too many people. But as I was, Sunday, as I was thinking it out and working out, I was just like, you know what? I think they're going to win this game because they're now no more the hunted. They're the hunters. They're hearing everything. They're hearing everyone talk about how good Joe Burrow is. Cincinnati owns them. They're 3-0. And that's all true. I can't dispute that. I was sick of playing these guys before yesterday. And if I'm sick of it, what are these guys in that locker room thinking? So they came in with the mindset of, we're going to take it to these guys. And it showed early in this game. They got that good start. And Cincinnati looked a little frazzled, to start that game. Like, hey, you know what? We're barking up the wrong tree, or we're talking a little too much, maybe a little too confident. But they calmed down, which you knew they would, just because that's who Cincinnati is. But
Well, their defense did a good job of keeping them out of the
yeah,
end zone those first two drives, because that game felt like at halftime it felt like the Chiefs should have been up by a
by
lot
10
more, but it was only
yeah,
13-6.
it should have been like a
Yeah.
10 to 14 point lead. And then you see the celebration. These Chiefs players, Travis calling them the mayor of Jabroni, Burrow had my ass. They're all smoking cigars in the locker room. They heard it all.
Did you see Creed Humphrey and Jarek McKinnon walking up to like one of the wherever they must have like some VIP spot where like the fans can watch the guys run out of the tunnel, and Creed and Jarek McKinnon were going to get beer to bring back to the locker room. It's like they're one of us.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and another what surprised me is yesterday going to that game. This year, in terms of points per game, the Chiefs only allowed 21 points a game this year on the season, and to hold a good Bengals team to 20 points and shut them down in the red zone before the end of that first half to make it 13-6 was huge. Because if it would have been 13-10 after they went 3 and out after the Jalen Watson interception, that would have been a momentum switch, and I don't know if they could have came back from that.
Yeah, because then that's when they went right back down, and they had that beautiful pitch and catch to T. Higgins.
Yep.
And yeah, that would have made it 17-13. And if they get that touchdown, and yeah, who knows? But I think the Chiefs marched right back and scored, didn't they?
No, because when I was watching on my TV, it was right to left, and I don't think they did right afterwards. Or no, they did. Yeah, they did because he found MVS.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, he found
drive.
MVS right after that in the end zone. So yeah, they came back right after the Bengals did and answered.
That's right. Yeah, and well, who knows? As of now, that's probably going to be the matchup for next year.